Hi everybody. Today I'm obviously dressed up as the heaviest breather you've ever met, and welcome to Speed is the number one factor in game development. The faster you can prototype your game, the faster you can playtest it, the faster you can find out if it's fun. That said, it's a marathon, not a sprint, alright? Not every week is going to be as fast as every other one. There we go. That's why on the busier weeks where you don't have as much time to develop, it's that much more important to make baby steps to hold on to your momentum. So we're going to kick it to Indoor George to show off some of those baby steps.
Alright, hey guys. It's Inside George, here to show off what I've made so far. We've got some music by Ludwig Frank, shout outs. It's pretty amazing. And I've been working on some sound design in Audacity. Dipping my toes into that. I'm not super sure about it yet, but it's pretty fun. Big thing I want to get your guys' input on is how do we feel about these real textures? I like how they sort of contribute to the collagey feel of it all, but it might be a little bit strange. This is another room, and so this is a real texture of a golden frame, and then a picture I took of a drawing of some cheese, and I think that could be kind of fun. And for these little mouse traps, I'm thinking when you walk over them, they'll snap and they'll move, and that might make the environment feel a little bit more alive. What else? Yeah, so I set up the camera to move between rooms. Obviously, open to feedback at that as well. And these are the only two rooms I've really made so far. The other thing I did this week, we go into the combat scene. I made a new background that I think is really cool. So what I did is I got a image of Semenagashi, which I'll throw on screen, off Google, and then I tried to copy it with a stencil, and then I printed that result. And this is sort of what I ended up with. And what we did here was we added a vertex shader to warp it based on like a sine wave. And so it's pretty simple. I got some really good feedback this week from Pig Squad people. Shout out Pig Squad, Portland Indie Game Squad, to add some motion to the enemies. And so I'll probably continue to work on that a little bit. But yeah, I know it's not a lot, but we'll kick it back to Outside George. Bye.
Thanks, Inside
Hey,
George.
no problem, man. Maybe I could go outside.
Anyway, God. Speaking of feedback, I've got some names to run past you guys. I'm really no good at naming stuff, so I could use the help. So we've got Printmade, which is the original option I presented in my first video. Squeegia, which is squeegee plus a Ouija. I kind of like that. I like the word squeegee a lot. And then Ekis, which is from Kadav Exquise, which is a sort of art exercise from the Renaissance that is a big inspiration to me, especially for the aesthetic of this project. It's very cool. That's all I got. I know it's slim pickings. If you got a better idea, leave it in the comments, please. But let's just get into roses and thorns, shall we? We've got a couple roses this week. First and foremost, Ludwig Frank is making more music for the game, which is super exciting because he makes really great stuff, and I'm super pumped to show off more of his work in the coming weeks. Also, I got a job, so I'll be able to pay the $100 Steam fee for setting up a Steam page. That's very exciting. But that kind of leads me into my thorn for this week, is that I'm working a job and I'm going to school, and so there's not a lot of time left over to work on this, which is a bummer. This week was especially busy because I had midterms, but I would expect a little bit less progress up until the end of May. I'm still going to try my best, but that's just kind of my estimation. But yeah, let's talk about our goals for next week. So I'm thinking our goals for next week are going to be the same as they were last week. So specifically cleaning up the battle loop, making sure it's all clean from start to finish, and filling out the dungeon basement more. and I'm sure Inside George showed you guys a little bit of what's going on there. And then I think for a bonus goal, I'd like to start working on the start menu. I have a fun idea for what it could look like, and I'd like to get started on it. So, yeah, that's all for this week. I'm hoping to get more done next week, so stay tuned. But until then, bye, everybody. Bye, 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 bye.